In one of the world's longest-running conflicts, thousands of female fighters help make up the FARC rebel army. What's their life like within the guerrilla group's jungle camp? I'm Elaine Reyes in Washington, D.C., and this is America's Now.
Guerrilla!
First up, the FARC are Latin America's largest rebel army, and almost half of their members are women, training and fighting alongside the men and sharing daily chores as well.
The only chance to get ahead is joining the guerrilla. That's it. Or you stay at home and become just another small farmer.
But it's another sign of
Correspondent Toby Muse receives rare access to a FARC camp in the Colombian jungle. He speaks one-on-one with the females fighting on the front lines. Then a Mexican man using art to overcome violence. With his murals, he's literally changing the image of his town with paint.
We have to change the image of all these abandoned spaces.
For this week's Game Changer, meet the founder of Colectivo Jellyfish, Leonel Portillo. And later, for residents of Ecuador, living beneath a volcano can be full of excitement and fear. As volcanoes erupt after years of being dormant, many Ecuadorians find their livelihoods at risk.
We collect the ash to know how much ash is being emitted from the volcano in total, and this is just one of the ash collection sites we have here.
The country has been on alert.
Correspondent Dan Collins visits some villages located near these volcanoes. He'll show us just how disruptive life can be.
Welcome to the show. 2016 has been designated the year to end more than half a century of fighting between the Colombian government and the FARC rebel group. It was a war that left hundreds of thousands dead and several million displaced. Both sides began peace talks in Havana more than 3 years ago, but what some don't know about the guerrilla group, it has a large number of women fighting in its ranks. In this exclusive, Toby Muse travels to a FARC jungle camp to meet these female fighters.
Guerrilla!
A unit of heavily armed guerrillas practice their drill deep in Colombia's jungles.
Vista a la izquierda!
These are women of the FARC, Latin America's largest rebel army. The FARC say that 40% of their fighters are female.
Vista al frente! A discreción!
Women live, fight and die alongside their male comrades.
Para izar!
The commander, known as Paula, says that within the FARC there is complete equality.
Aquí los deberes y derechos son iguales para todos, sea independientemente de que sea mujer o sea hombre. Tenemos la igualdad de condiciones. Aquí las mujeres vamos al combate, trabajamos hombro a hombro con los camaradas.
Paula joined the FARC 6 years ago after she says a family member was disappeared by far-right militias. Many other guerrillas, men and women, tell similar stories.
Y de ahí después es que lleguen a su casa con lista en mano buscando los familiares. Entonces, ¿usted qué haría? O dejarse matar o pelear por algo que vale la pena.
The guerrilla, who goes by the name Manuela Marin, says women in the FARC are present in all operations.
De hecho, siempre en todas las unidades o unidades tácticas, comandos, para cualquier tarea, siempre va una mujer. Cuando se fundó las FARC, eran 46 camaradas hombres y 2 camaradas mujeres. Desde el nacimiento de las FARC, nosotras hemos estado ahí.
It's one of the few guerrilla groups in the world in which women play such a prominent role. It's even more surprising that this would happen in Latin America, a region known for its machismo. In Colombia, women earn just 80% of what a man receives for the same job.
These female guerrillas are practicing for a military march they will hold to celebrate the Day of Non-Violence Against Women. But it's another sign of just how important the FARC considers its female fighters.
The US and Colombian governments label these women terrorists and have spent billions of dollars in a war to destroy them. The guerrillas say that men and women alike join the FARC because they want a Marxist revolution in Colombia. As members of the FARC, women and men fight together, as this rebel video shows. While countries around the world debate whether women should serve on the front lines, the FARC commander Kunta Kinte says his female fighters are an even match for their male comrades.
Muchachas muy guapas, muy decididas y aportan muy bien en el combate. Porque muchas veces nos preguntan, ¿es que las mujeres pelean? Pues claro que aquí ellas también, ¿de qué portan un fusil? Portan una pistola, ¿y para qué la portan? Pues para pelear.
According to Kunta, the women go through the same training in guerrilla warcraft as men.
Pero a nivel del combate, a nivel del trabajo, a nivel de todo eso, la mujer cumple el mismo trabajo que el hombre, aquí internamente. Incluso en la línea de combate, tiene la capacidad para manejar este escuadrón compañía y vaya a combate. Vaya, dirija allí. Tenga su fusil, cubre ese flanco.
Some women have gone on to become great fighters in the guerrillas, he says.
Camaradas, digamos, que se han desempeñado muy bien en el parte combativo. Han aprendido, han trabajado. Otras han muerto en la línea de combate.
One guerrilla fighter became notorious across Colombia. A rebel known as Karina headed a FARC fighting front in the country's Coffee region. She allegedly carried out massacres as well as leading charges on several army bases. She became a terror of civilians and the security forces. In 2008, surrounded by the army, she surrendered. Since then, she's inhabited a legal limbo, guilty of various crimes, but working with the government to encourage other guerrillas to demobilize.
No te vayas, guerrillera, no te marches, compañera. Si te vas tras el combate, si te duele.
The FARC runs web pages dedicated to its female fighters. Here you can see videos, listen to FARC songs about their guerrillas, and read articles about women and the revolution. In the kitchens where guerrillas prepare food for dozens of fighters, the duties of cooking and cleaning are shared. In a jungle camp in a civil war, there's little room for luxuries. Men and women bathe together in a nearby stream, but even then, their rifles are never far away.
Los aretes.
Sumara Martinez's outfit is made up of earrings, necklaces, and a 9mm pistol.
Cuando está recién ingresado, de pronto el problema de bañarse con los otros compañeros, eso a veces le genera a uno dificultades. Cuando uno es una persona muy tímida, ¿no? Porque hay muchas muchachas que llegan y de una vez se acostumbran a la vida cotidiana, a la vida normal del guerrillero.
Sumara entered the FARC 16 years ago. For her, it was a family tradition, with brothers and sisters joining up before her. But she also felt that Colombia's countryside was feudal. She was born poor. She was likely to die poor.
La única oportunidad de salir adelante es yéndose para la guerrilla, del resto no hay otra. O se queda en la casa siendo un campesino más, por ahí cocinando, teniendo hijos, y si es un hombre jornaleando o de raspachino o en otra cosa, pero no hay otra posibilidad. Si usted quiere ser alguien en una región de esas, si usted quiere salir adelante, quiere luchar por su país, definitivamente tiene que irse para la guerrilla porque no hay otra.
The FARC and the government are in peace talks that many hope could end the 5-decade conflict sometime this year. But until the final signature on the peace deal, the guerrillas live in uncertainty. An attack from the army could come at any moment. Isabella San Roque and Manuela Marin work in the FARC's outreach program, trying to build support for the group among Colombia's small farmers. Today, they're reviewing the latest news from Cuba, where peace talks between the FARC and the Colombian government continue. Most guerrillas come from Colombia's countryside. Isabella San Roque is one of the few who come from the capital, Bogotá. 11 years ago, she was a student involved in the FARC's underground political party. Fearing the police were zeroing in on her, she bolted for the safety of the jungle, taking up arms with the FARC. As a girl, she had wanted to be a writer. Now her life is the pen and the gun.
Con el cual, pues, combato, una pistola 9 milímetros.
While in the FARC, she started a relationship with another guerrilla, taking his surname, San Roque.
Y pues en medio de la guerra no existen los matrimonios, es decir, las mujeres cumplimos tareas y los hombres cumplen tareas y sobre la base de la prioridad de esas tareas es que podemos convivir. Si en algún momento el compañero se tiene que ir a cumplir una misión, pues la relación termina.
But love on the front line can be perilous. Her boyfriend was killed in an army raid.
Porque lógicamente la guerra no es fácil. Entonces la guerra tiene sus momentos en los que uno siente que vale la pena estar acá, pero que ese sacrificio pues tiene unos costos personales muy grandes.
Contraception is obligatory within the FARC to stop female guerrillas from becoming guerrilla mothers. The government says that it has collected the testimony of dozens of women who have fled the FARC who claim sexual abuse is rife. But every FARC woman we spoke to denied this. In fact, they said the FARC had clear punishments for such behavior.
Casi siempre ese tipo de cosas son imperdonables. Entonces la violación sexual en nuestras filas termina casi siempre en el fusilamiento.
Like others, Isabel has committed to the FARC for life.
No, porque el ingreso es hasta el triunfo y es las 24 horas y es yo como mujer, como revolucionaria, hice el compromiso de entregarle mi vida a la causa del pueblo.
The usual punishment for desertion is the firing squad. It was just that firing squad Ana Maria risked when she fled the FARC. After an argument with her mother, she ran away from home and joined the FARC when she was 14. She immediately regretted her decision, but it was too late. While there, she started a relationship with another guerrilla.
Bueno, yo quedé embarazada. No sé cómo, porque yo planificaba. Siempre era muy juiciosa con mi planificación y quedé embarazada. Entonces, obviamente, lo que uno menos quiere es que a uno le hagan un degrado o algo así. Y yo me asusté mucho, nunca dije nada. Me quedé callada.
But in a random AIDS test, the guerrillas discovered she was pregnant.
Difícilmente tocó abortar. Pero entonces yo ya tenía 6 meses de embarazo. Y fue cuando ellos me dijeron que les tocaba hacerme el degrado. Obviamente lloré, les dije que por favor no, que no lo hicieran, pero eso no es valedero para ellos. Uno sabe que no puede tener hijos y ya.
She escaped the guerrillas, running through jungles and swimming along rivers. But even now, 3 years later, she still worries that the FARC may hunt her down.
Que le muestren la cara a uno, porque uno estando allá adentro le dicen de que cuando uno se vuela, a uno lo mandan a fusilar, lo buscan, pero que lo matan, lo matan. Entonces, eso es como un miedo de que uno siempre mantiene, ¿no?
Since escaping the FARC, she's found discrimination for her past as a guerrilla.
Obviamente no es justo, porque pues, yo a veces también me pongo a pensar, ¿para qué le dicen a esas personas que tienen que salirse cuando aquí en realidad nosotros no le vamos a brindar apoyo a ellos? Porque digamos, uno aquí para conseguir un trabajo, si uno dice que es desmovilizado, a uno no lo recibe.
Ya volvió a cabalgar, no más llanto y dolor de la patria. Somos pueblos que van tras de la libertad, construyendo la senda de paz. Guerrilleros de las FARC.
Back in the camp, the women are finalizing their practice. It's telling that as the women parade, it's the men that stand in the background and sing the FARC's anthem.
Alcanzar la libertad y la felicidad socialista, el futuro será.
If a peace deal is signed, these women could soon be re-entering Colombian society, this time as civilians.
Colombian and FARC negotiators realize there are still too many issues for them to work through. Both sides insist the peace accord will be signed this year.
Coming up,
an interview with former president of Colombia, Andres Pastrana.
That's why we have to be very careful. That one thing is going to be the peace process, but still Colombia needs to commit in the fight on narco-trafficking. Still, today, we are the largest producing country of coca in the world.
America's Now.
Welcome back to America's Now. The Colombian government and the FARC have been at the negotiating table before. More than 15 years ago, then President Andres Pastrana engaged in formal peace talks with the FARC. He even traveled and met with the group's leader in rebel-held territory. But after years of discussions, the talks failed amid continuing violence and other factors. We recently had the opportunity to sit down with President Pastrana. He shares his personal reflections of that time and tells us if the atmosphere in his country has changed enough to achieve lasting peace. President Pastrana, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
You initiated peace talks with the FARC more than 15 years ago. This was something that was very important to you. You spent years negotiating, talking to them about a peace process. So what has it been like for you to watch what's happened over the years when you were not successful? What has changed or maybe has not changed to allow
I think
some progress to happen?
there were a lot of things that in the last 15 years happened that changed really what is happening today with the peace process. First of all, we create Plan Colombia. With Plan Colombia, we arm our army as never in the history of Colombia. That gave President Uribe and President De Santos the opportunity to go after the guerrillas if they don't want to sit in a peace process. And that's what really happened. What happened is that Plan Colombia, you may say that sit in the table the FARC today. So that was one of the huge achievements. Second, I think that many of the experience that we have in 1998 were taken by President Santos, and I think it's go a step forward. But I think that our responsibility is to create the best scenario so that we could achieve a long-lasting peace in Colombia. And that is done by a consensus. We have back again the support of the international community. During the talks I started with the FARC, we had more than 30 countries on the table of negotiation supporting my process. Today, back again, the international community is backing President Santos, is backing Colombia in this process, and that's why we hope, if we create this consensus, that we could achieve a long-lasting peace in my country.
Many people consider Plan Colombia successful. Do you think that you have played a part in the peace process where it is today, the fact that maybe something will finally be achieved?
No, I think that something is going to be achieved. But the peace process is not the end of violence in Colombia. That's one of the things. Because still we have to deal with two big problems. Still we have some paramilitary groups in our country, and those are involved also in the drug business. And we will still have to deal with narco-trafficking. You could achieve the peace process, but if the FARC, if they don't tell us Colombians the truth, it's going to be very difficult to end the narco-trafficking in our country. So that's why I think with the peace process of President Santos, we have a huge opportunity really to end with narco-trafficking in Colombia. So that's why we have to be very careful. That one thing is going to be the peace process, but still Colombia needs to commit in the fight on narco-trafficking. Still, today, we are the largest producing country of coca in the world. And that's why we need still the help of the world. That was why Plan Colombia was created. I started Plan Colombia with what I call the theory of co-responsibility. We, Colombia, we used to produce, and we still are producing drugs, but the U.S. is the largest consuming country in the world. And Europe today is starting to be also the largest consumer countries in the world are located in Europe. That's why we not only need the help of the United States, but also the help of the Europeans in the fight against narco-trafficking.
So despite the progress, you believe Plan Colombia should continue. How should it
evolve to the situation in Colombia today?
I think that we need to continue Plan Colombia in which the way it was conceived. Why? Because basically Plan Colombia had, if I may say, 3 or 4 legs. One of them, it was strength of our military to fight not only the guerrilla but also narco-trafficking. Plan Colombia was created basically to go after the war on drugs. So that's why we strengthen our army as never in the history of our country. Second, the social side of Plan Colombia. Plan Colombia, we create, I think, the most important social plans that we have today in Colombia. One of them is called Family in Action, that it's today benefiting, I think, that more than 2.5 million families in the country, giving support to the families for their children. So that was something that was very important. Plan Colombia, in Plan Colombia, we proposed a free trade agreement with the United States, was part of Plan Colombia. Now we have the free trade agreement with the United States. And we need to get more involved if we achieve peace process in keeping the guerrilla that want to get back to the legal side of for example, agriculture or some of the micro industries in Colombia. We need to have money to get these people back. And I think one of the most important things is still eradicating drugs, alternative development in these areas, and investing in the people that want to stay. The FARC used to be and is still, I think, a rural group. Most of the people of the FARC today, you could have 10, 12,000 people of the FARC today, I think they want to return to agriculture, they want to return to their own cities, and I think that's where we need money to give these people the possibility to go back to the legal business that basically is going to be agriculture, protecting the environment, protecting our rainforests. I think there's a lot of opportunities.
The perception of Colombia has changed. People want to visit, they're curious about Colombia.
Perfect, no problem. I think that we've dealt. First of all, we had the problem of the violence, what I call narco-terrorism, that it was the violence of the cartels in Colombia. We have the 2 largest cartels in the world. We had the Medellin cartel and the Cali cartel. Even, as you know, I was kidnapped by Pablo Escobar. I suffered personally the violence of my country. I'm the only survivor of Pablo Escobar. Everyone that Pablo Escobar kidnapped was killed, and I survived. And thank God I survived, and I could do a lot of things for my country. I think that's over. We went after the largest cartel in the world. We fight them. We defeat them. Still we have the problem. Still Colombia is a producing country. That's why we need the help of the world.
Do you think that the FARC has changed over the years?
Well, it has changed for good and bad. For bad, I think that they were a Marxist, Leninist guerrilla group, and now is the largest cartel of cocaine in the world. So I think that they gave up their ideology and they got involved in the largest business of the world, that is the drugs.
There are reports that if a peace process is achieved with President Santos and the FARC, that they could be seen as potential winners of the Nobel Peace Prize.
I don't think that you don't do a peace process to win a Nobel Peace Prize. You do the processes for the peace, not for the Nobel Peace Prize. You do a peace processes for your country. I don't think, as president, I cannot think that you start working for the peace looking for a prize. It doesn't matter what's the name of that prize. I think if you're achieving a peace process, it's for the benefit of your country and of your people. And that's what you need to think. Because if you're thinking on the peace prize, maybe you will give many things to the other group to try only to achieve peace. And that will be a huge mistake. Because you could achieve peace for 1 year, or 2 years, or 3 years, but you could not achieve a permanent peace in the country. And that's what you need to think. I'm going to win a peace prize, or I'm going to do peace that will benefit for my country. I think that is what you need to think when you're president of a country as Colombia.
President Andres Pastrana, thank you so much for being with us.
Elaine, thank you very much.
Coming up.
A violent past that is being changed with art.
We think that it is highly important to have street art, so that people can walk the art, live the art, without having to go to a particular place to see it.
America's Now.
Welcome back. Ciudad Juarez is a border town between Mexico and the U.S. It became infamous for a wave of attacks beginning in the 1990s that left hundreds of women dead over the course of a decade. Though homicide rates there are falling, the scars have yet to heal. In 2010, a young man decided to change the sad and violent image of Ciudad Juarez with paint. With his murals, he wants to show other young people that art can overcome violence. Meet this week's game changer, Leonel Portillo.
Si te ponen una situación de emergencia, ¿no? A ver cómo reaccionas. Porque pues la situación la podemos describir en números, pero para ti como ciudadano era más eso, era más sentir que la vida pues te la estaban quitando, ¿no? En ese momento. Mi nombre es Leonel Portillo, me apodan Pilo y soy cofundador de Jellyfish Colectivo. Jellyfish somos un grupo de personas que nos juntamos a hacer, no sé, lo que se nos venía a la mente, ¿no? De manera creativa. Me gusta llamarlo como un grupo creativo. O si quieren hacer uno, pues a mí me gustaría por la cabeza. Afecta naturalmente, si tienes como esa conciencia y ese gusto por tu ciudad, porque todos somos de aquí. Cuando pasaba eso, pues nos dolía, ¿no? Y nos hacía como sentir como cierta impotencia. Habla mucho la gente de que, bueno, Juárez ya pasó por eso, o el gobierno te puede decir, bueno, Juárez ya superó y salvamos Juárez, pero en realidad tú te das cuenta de que no es algo que se pueda superar en un año o en 2 años. Te das cuenta de que esas cosas siguen ahí y esas cosas van a seguir marcando vidas de aquí a 20 años sin problema. Entonces decíamos, bueno, hay que cambiarle un poquito la cara a esos espacios abandonados, que ya no sean espacios que te gritan, bueno, por aquí pasó algo muy malo, sino que te digan, bueno, aquí hay gente buscando la vida y hay gente buscando ser feliz. En una ciudad como Ciudad Juárez no hay galerías, hay un solo museo. Creemos y nosotros sentimos que es muy importante que el arte esté en las calles, ¿no? Para que la gente lo camine, para que la gente viva el arte y no tenga que ir a un recinto, ¿no? a contemplarlo.
Las casas por lo regular están muy deterioradas porque no se cuenta con el dinero para ponerlas bonitas, para pintarlas, adecuarlas. Entonces cuando ellos vienen y nos hacen este servicio, porque es un servicio, porque yo no pagué ni un quinto por eso, entonces dan otra imagen totalmente diferente. Ya se va viendo la colonia más bonita, más atractiva. Siempre que llego me paro en la esquina y me pongo a observar la casa y cada vez la veo diferente, ¿verdad? Y digo, bueno, ¿y qué esto qué significa? ¿Y aquello por qué lo pusieron? El sueño para nosotros, siempre que pintamos, es estar dejando algo que a la gente le gusta, ¿no? Y estar como siguiendo esta meta, ¿no? Que es llevar el arte a donde no hay arte.
Jellyfish para nosotros se ha convertido en nuestra vida y que hemos tenido la oportunidad de hacer cosas que han podido impactar un poquito más, no solo nuestra vida, sino la vida de algunas otras personas.
Jellyfish is now expanding its art to the United States, taking their colorful murals to Arizona and Texas. We'd love to have your input, so if you know someone who's helping change the world, drop us a line at an@cctv-america.com or tweet us at cctv_America and tell us about a game changer you would like to see on America's Now.
Coming up.
Living under Ecuador's erupting volcanoes can be an explosive experience.
We can never predict, in the case, will it be next in an hour from now that we will have a big eruption. We can say often within a certain amount of time frame.
America's Now.
Welcome back. The small South American country of Ecuador is home to 84 volcanoes. They're part of the northern volcanic zone of the Andes, and some of them are considered the most active in the world. 2 of them recently woke up from their slumber with rumbling ash and explosive fire. As correspondent Dan Collins reports, it's keeping scientists and locals who live in their shadows on high alert.
Living under Tungurahua is an exercise in controlling fear and dealing with the damage its eruptions leave in their wake. The name Tungurahua means throat of fire in the native Quechua tongue. It looks tranquil now, a picturesque backdrop to the green hills and valleys of Ecuador's Andes. But it didn't a few months ago. Even for those who live on the edge of this active volcano, deserting your home is hard.
La gente también corría de un lado a otro buscando refugio. Había explosiones, había emanación de gas, había un calor que se sentía aquí, o sea, algo fuerte, algo sofocante que igual, digamos, a uno también le hacía algo extraño sentir eso, a pesar de que llovía, sentíamos un calor, o sea, algo que nunca habíamos sentido, ¿no? Luego en la mañana, al día siguiente, la preocupación de los animales, porque igual se encontraban en la parte alta, por ahí encontramos ya ganado muerto, que se había calcinado, vacas preñadas días de parir, igual estaban así muertas. Todo era un panorama bastante desalentador. Hay veces que siempre nos coge desprevenidos, ¿no? O a veces no se sabe qué es lo que puede hacer con la naturaleza.
The volcano is still spewing columns of ash hundreds of meters into the sky. You can taste it in your mouth and feel it rain down on your skin and stick in your hair. The volcano's latest eruption was at the end of last year. Scientists from Ecuador's Geophysical Institute are studying how much volcanic ash is being ejected and what kind. Fresh out of university, British geologist Charlotte Barrington has joined the team.
Primarily we collect the ash to know how much ash is being emitted from the volcano in total, and this is just one of the ash collection sites we have here at Volcan Tungurahua. Aside from this, they'll also take the ash to monitor changes in the composition. Should we have a new input of magma, so from the ash if we're seeing a lot more juvenile material or ash with a lot more vesicles, so it's being broken apart, we can say that there's more pressure inside the volcano, for example, the magma's at a higher level, and perhaps it's more likely that we'd see an eruption in the nearer future.
Zumba's house is still standing and it's used to collect volcanic ash. But the family's crops were ruined and livestock killed. This maize is still thickly coated with ash. All that can be done, says Zumba, is to plough it back into the land. But in a nearby village, help is at hand.
As crops and pasture land have been covered with volcanic ash from the last eruption, the state has stepped in, bringing green bananas from the coast. They're for the people, but they're mostly for the livestock.
Due to the recent eruptions, the government has declared a state of emergency. Every person in the village is registered and gets their share, says Paris leader Francisco Rosero.
Se puede vivir bajo un volcán, pero con las medidas, en este caso, pertinentes, estar preparados, tanto para la movilización de las personas, que es lo principal, y también para estos productos, por ejemplo, dedicarnos a tener ensilaje, productos así en stock, para cuando haya estas eventualidades poder dar a nuestros animales y poder no tener estas situaciones.
The people here seem accustomed to the uncertainty. Even so, scientists are keeping a wary eye on the volcanoes. The local base for Ecuador's Geophysical Institute receives real-time data from dozens of stations installed around the Tungurahua and Cotopaxi volcanoes. This seismograph monitors tremors which signal volcanic activity. Meanwhile, chief volcanologist, American Patricia Mothes, is vigilant.
We can never predict in the case will it be next in an hour from now that we will have a big eruption. We can say often within a certain amount of time frame, say a few hours to less than a day, that this volcano is going to erupt in a big way. Now, we knew that in 2006.
In August 2006, Tungurahua erupted with huge force, wiping out several hamlets and villages, devastating crops, and killing at least 6 people. Thousands were displaced, but Mothes says it could have been much worse without the timely warning.
We were able to give the alert starting by 10 in the morning, and the volcano finally had the major eruption, which was very threatening to life, at midnight. So we gave over a 12-hour alert.
It's quiet now, but few here doubt the power of the Tungurahua volcano. This is what's left of a house which was buried under tons of rock and ash after the last eruption nearly a decade ago. The owners got out, but only just.
Tungurahua's last eruption was in November last year. For residents in the tourist town of Baños, at the foot of the volcano, evacuation drills are part of daily life. Even so, there were deaths.
There were, unfortunately, 6 deaths at the southwest side of the volcano because although people had been told to evacuate by their mayor, they choose to go back, or because maybe the grandparents had refused to come out or could not get out. People went back to get them, and then the pyroclastic flows came down and burned or suffocated them. Their bodies were never found.
Volcanoes have sculpted this beautiful landscape, leaving it with fertile soil, but also constant changes. Over centuries, pyroclastic flows, a mixture of gases, rock and ash, have rained down. And lahars, rivers of volcanic mud and ash, have covered everything in their path.
Esta es una de las quebradas principales por donde ha bajado varios flujos de lodo del volcán Tungurahua. Aquí ha sido varias veces, al menos unos 5 intentos de tratar de construir un puente por la quebrada para permitir el paso a la vía, pero no ha sido muy útil y ha sido la destrucción siempre constante aquí. Entonces cada que llueve bajan lahares por esta quebrada.
While residents can save their lives, there's little they can do to protect their land and crops from nature's whim. It often comes down to which way the wind blows the acidic volcanic ash.
Quema la piel y además de eso nuestros cultivos. Como pueden observar, las moras, la flor quema. El fruto que ya está casi maduro empieza como si le cogiera una helada. Le quema también a la fruta y cae. Entonces imagínense, después de esto toca cuánta inversión hacer para que nuevamente las plantas vuelvan a producir.
Norma Robalino's family have been farming this land for generations.
Nacimos, amamos al suelo, amamos esta tierra, entonces ya prácticamente el volcán ya se nos hace ya familiar, sino que ya ojalá ya que se calme ya.
Just months before Tungurahua erupted, Cotopaxi, Ecuador's highest active volcano, rumbled back into life 138 years after its last eruption.
Peeking through this bank of cloud, you can just make out one of the world's highest and one of Ecuador's most active volcanoes, Cotopaxi. The country has been on alert since it started erupting in August, as experts predict a powerful eruption could even impact the capital city.
Scientists say a powerful eruption is unlikely, but the closure of the Cotopaxi National Park, a major tourist attraction, has hit the local economy in nearby Latacunga.
El turismo está prácticamente en cero. Hemos estado tratando de sobresalir. Solamente llegan las cancelaciones de las reservas, solo cancelaciones, y la gente no ingresa. Entonces estamos en una situación muy asfixiante.
The volcano is just 50 kilometers south of Ecuador's capital, Quito, and its population of more than 2.5 million people. The Pacific Ring of Fire, a volcanic and earthquake-prone belt which circumscribes the ocean, has given Ecuador its unique natural attractions. Choosing to live close to some of the most powerful forces on our planet has its attractions, but it also means living life on the edge.
Thanks to Dan Collins for that report. When the Tungurahua volcano erupted recently, it spewed ash at one point 7 kilometers into the sky. 10 years ago, it had a major eruption that left at least 5 dead and displaced thousands of people across 6 provinces.
Coming up.
The entrancing sound of a classical guitarist from Colombia.
And my dad was an avid guitar listener, and when he took me to my first guitar concert, I fell in love with the guitar, and I said, I'm never playing the piano again. I'm playing the guitar, even though I had no idea what I was getting into.
America's Now.
Welcome back to America's Now. The guitar is one of the world's oldest musical instruments. It can be traced back roughly 4,000 years when images of stringed instruments appeared on cave walls in tomb paintings. Spain is probably the country most associated with the classical guitar. It's where the modern 6-string version of the instrument we know today first emerged in the 18th century. We recently had a chance to spend time with a man praised as one of the world's premier classical guitarists. For our Urban Voice this week, take a listen to Ricardo Cobo.
You know, my first exposure to the guitar was probably in the womb. You know, I suspect when I was born there was a lot of guitar music going on, and certainly before I was born there was a lot of music in the house.
He is one of the leading players of classical guitar. Honored by the Colombian government and beyond for his outstanding contribution to music.
There is no one way to describe Colombian music. It's so many different things. I mean, native Colombian music is not just salsa, it's a lot of things. It's, you know, son, salsa, bachata, you know, mapalé, cumbia, pasillo. It depends on what regions you go.
His name is Ricardo Cobo. He began playing the guitar at age 7.
I was growing up in Cali, Colombia, and my mom was a pianist, so we obviously gravitated towards the piano first. And then my dad was an avid guitar listener. He was a doctor, and he loved guitar records. And when he took me to my first guitar concert, I fell in love with the guitar, and I said, I'm never playing the piano again. I'm playing the guitar, even though I had no idea what I was getting into. I had several teachers when I was a kid, and they were very hard to come by. You know, a guitar teacher back then was a real, leap of faith.
They were teachers who instilled in him a deep love of music.
Those were all figures from Cali back in the day. I carry great memories from those guys. They were real troubadours with the guitar.
Like a troubadour himself, Ricardo traveled great distances pursuing his passion. Relocating to the United States, he enrolled in an esteemed music school called the Peabody Conservatory in Baltimore.
Well, I went to Peabody to study music and guitar. I wanted to become a professional, so that was a great place to start. Peabody had a very famous teacher, Aaron Shearer, who was still alive at the time, and who was highly recognized. It was very hard to get in, of course. You have to audition. And, I got accepted, and I stayed with him for many years. It was an adventure. I started winning many, many contests, and I was able to finance, concerts and recordings and appearances, and eventually I won several competitions that pretty much launched my playing career. I don't quite go 112. I mean, I'm more like in the 104.
Okay.
Further study and more awards led to additional travels.
I lived in New York for a long time, and I always had wanted to play in New York, and of course I ended up doing many debuts in New York, at Merkin Hall, at Carnegie Hall, at,
Alice Tully Hall.
Alice Tully Hall, where we played many concerts, and so those were a fulfillment of many dreams that I had pursued.
Rehearsing in Washington, D.C. for a concert tribute to the late literary legend Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Cobo calls the Colombian author a transforming influence.
Such a huge literary figure who wrote so many books, Cien Años de Soledad. But that I remember as a child reading it and being transformed. You live in a country, and then you realize that very close by in the soul of the country there is an artist who sees it a very different way. And it's a fascinating way to see Latin America.
Juan Carlos Iragorri, a Washington journalist who once worked with Garcia Marquez, agrees with Cobo. He met us at the 51st State Tavern in Washington's Foggy Bottom neighborhood.
Well, as a journalist, he was marvelous. I mean, he wrote chronicles when he traveled across Europe, especially Eastern Europe in the 60s and the 70s. And he wrote about all some countries behind the Berlin Wall, the Iron Curtain in those days. So I think he influenced lots of journalists in Colombia mainly, and across Latin America because of his style. He was always telling you have to kill all the commonplaces when you write. I mean, that's one of the most important things you can do as a journalist. I mean, don't write the obvious things. You have to write something different. I think he also influenced the way we tell the history, we write history about Colombia. And he also influenced lots of musicians. For example, we have a style of music, a regional music called the vallenato in the Caribbean coast. Garcia Marquez loved the vallenato. He was one of the greatest friends of Rafael Escalona, the most famous musician of the vallenato. And Garcia Marquez used to say that 100 Years of Solitude was a vallenato of 400 pages. I mean, he loved music.
So Garcia Marquez, I think, had a profound impact in how things are seen and how they are seen retrospectively. And it really has had a profound impact in painters, musicians, writers, of course.
These days, Cobo is having a profound impact himself by teaching guitar to young, aspiring musicians.
And something very unique is happening in Las Vegas that you don't see anywhere else. The high school systems in Las Vegas started incorporating guitar programs. And this has produced, it has attracted an enormous amount of young talent. So I teach at the University of Nevada, and where I run the guitar department. So I've become very involved with mentoring these young kids and getting them to come to college and pursue guitar as a career. And so it's a very exciting time. very exciting time for us.
Passing down the skills and styles of classical guitar to a new generation of troubadours.
You know, it has been a wild ride. It's been really fun for me.
Ricardo Cobo even has a guitar named after him. A company headquartered in Spain called Alhambra makes it to his own specifications. Ricardo personally inspects each one before it ships out. Finally, we leave you with a ceremony that promotes global peace. It's a new tradition that takes place annually in New York City, but it attracts visitors from all over the globe. It seeks to encourage passion, awaken wisdom, and strengthen unity. Here are some illuminating images from the Xi'an Lantern Ceremony at Lincoln Center. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you again next week for another edition of America's Now.